right, here we go again, guys. The Enabling Digital Insights podcast. Episode 4, KADAK. Yes? Okay. Let me do a quick introduction. We are today at Planon. We have a guest, which is the CEO of Planon, Peter Ankersterne. Peter, can you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Fred. I'm happy to, and thanks for inviting me to your podcast. Very excited to be here. Well, my name is Peter Ankersterne, as you rightfully said and pronounced even more.
Yes, was it good?
That's even more impressive, yeah. Danish of origin, but now live in the Netherlands, in Arnhem, where I'm the CEO of the Planon Group and have been in the role since 1st of June last year. So
That's short, huh?
It's pretty short still, so I still have something to prove. Yeah. Especially following. I'm following our founder, Pierre Gullen, who was the CEO of Planon for 42 years. So it's
founder,
it's some big shoes to step into.
And
so,
what size do you have?
I'm a good 46.
46. Well, big shoes again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Living in Arnhem. And you also worked with ISS a long time ago. That's how we met, huh?
That was how we met, yeah. Remember?
How long ago is that?
In Copenhagen, yeah. I left ISS in 2018 after almost 25 years with the company. Yeah. So
in this podcast, we're also going to touch on the cleaning subject.
Oh, yeah.
So just to warn you, think a little bit about the application of BIM for cleaning.
Okay. Yeah, but good, I will do that. But ISS does more than cleaning. I think that was was part of my role at ISS. I was the chief marketing officer for ISS for the last 11 years of my stay with the company. So and really moving the perception from being a cleaning company to FM. Was it you that
sold the cleaning business? Because at a certain moment, ISS said, we want to get rid of this cleaning image, yeah?
Oh, that's not. They wanted to get rid of the cleaning image, but I think they embraced also the background and where the company was coming from. Yeah. So it was not going away from cleaning, just adding on top of cleaning and doing more what they call integrated facility services, which was really doing facility management, but with their own employees. Yeah. So you can do a full outsourcing of FM.
You were CMO, eh?
I was CMO for the last 11 years, but I was my claim to fame at ISS was really that entry into FM and that strategy we did back in the late 90s, early 2000s of becoming more of a FM type of company. Yeah. That was the big thing.
And after that, you also became the chair of the International Facility Management Association.
Yeah, you remember well, friend.
I followed you all these years.
But that's for being active, doing? For being active on social media. Yeah, it helps. But no, I was funny enough. I was when I was the last couple of years, I was with ISS. I joined the IFMA board of directors.
Yes.
And then when I decided to leave ISS, they asked me more or less at the same time if I wanted to become part of the executive committee, which is you sort of get groomed into becoming the chair. That's a 4-year commitment, and I said yes to that, and that was really a great learning experience and a lot of fun. And I was then chair of IFMA during COVID, so I was chair for 2 years, but 1 year during COVID, and that was we didn't know would the association survive or what happened. New. Everything was up in the air. But that was a great learning experience, and also a great opportunity to really extend your network.
So you did your fair share of investing in the profession.
I did, yeah. I've spent numerous hours on the weekends and in the evenings and working as a volunteer for the association.
On behalf of everybody, thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
And Björn, KADAK, I always tell people you are the technical brain of KADAK.
Well, thanks for that.
Is that true?
If you say it's true, then it probably is true.
Yeah?
I don't know. I am 16 years now working for KADAK.
Yeah.
Nowadays as a product manager, but before that time, I had my construction company, and about 8 years my own company, and before that 7 years working for a company. So in those days, I got a lot of expertise about constructions, creating constructions, but also the whole management part around creating buildings. And there is also, well, how do you say it? The affinity has grown there for not only creating those buildings, but also how do you handle the whole management of buildings?
Yeah, that's what we often in FM struggle with. That we know our profession, we know what catering is. But to look at it from a broader perspective and manage it and then make information management for it, it's difficult,
exactly. Yeah, that's pretty difficult, and it's it has grown some sort of passion for me, which I actually carried with me to KDAC about 16 years ago, and they are working in document management solutions and BIM solutions. We have grown to actually a more DevOps-oriented company. DevOps, yeah. And now working as a product manager for the team called Design Automation.
Yes.
Where we, on one hand, create a number of productivity solutions on top of Autodesk Revit and Autodesk Inventor, AutoCAD, for AECO market, for MFG market, for civil
MFG,
market.
for the listeners, means
manufacturing.
Yes.
Yeah, and AECO is, of course, the architectural engineering,
construction engineering,
and
operations.
Operations, definitely, the O. Don't forget it. And, of course, the civil 3D. That's the civil market is also
yes,
a very important market for us.
Yeah.
And so those productivity solutions are one hand, and on the other hand, we are creating a lot of integration solutions, data integration, data validation, translation of data. So all typical data related solutions that help us to get, for example, BIM information, to prepare it and make it shareable with other types of solutions. Such as, of course, Planon provides for facility management, for maintenance.
But do you still consider yourself from construction, or because you come from because it influences you, makes you grow?
A bit of both.
A bit of both.
I'm still building, only not with bricks, but with ones and zeros now.
Okay.
So it's still some kind of building process. You have to consider a customer's question, of course, a customer's desire.
Yeah.
You have to translate the desire to something which is actual functional.
Yeah.
And there is a typical relation with the typical world of construction.
Yeah.
So it is design and build process, and whether it is.
I also heard that we are now talking to Verbego. You know Verbego, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, and it's also it's a neighbor of where you're located, in Heerlen.
Yeah.
That would be a crazy dream, that if you can do FM BIM or asset lifecycle management, being with KDAC, with Verbego.
Yeah,
that would be a dream,
definitely. But not only Verbego, a lot of these type of customers.
Yeah,
it's just great where we come from KDAC, where we used to work on actually only productivity and provide not only software but also some services and trainings, of course. But to support actually the whole business of design, construction, and maintenance. We are going to close the circle.
Yeah, because maintenance, it comes directly into your plan on building management, I guess.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. Is this solution, because we're going to talk about the asset lifecycle management, about the Connect for Open BIM, which has been developed by you two firms. Yeah. Is building management, is that focus number one?
Well, for us it is. Yeah, I don't know about KDAC because you do more things than that. But for us, we are a niche player, but are beginning to become in a large niche, if you will. So we only concentrate on building management. But
what is the niche?
Well, the niche is building management software.
Okay.
So we don't want to have anything to do with supply chains or people management software or that type of thing. We connect to that, but we are only interested in what happens in a building, whether it's from a real estate management perspective, it's a facilities management perspective, or it can be a service provider perspective. Okay. But our limitation is the building.
Okay, so because when Björn says he's from asset lifecycle management, what are then the typical assets from your perspective?
Well, that's actually an interesting question, because if you talk real estate, the building is the asset. Yeah. They have a different terminology. Yeah. In facility management, everything that's inside the building is the asset. Yeah. Yeah. So it could be an HVAC system, it can be a lift or elevator system, it can be escalators, it can be furniture,
a computer screen,
that type of thing. Everything is an asset, and everything you have to manage these assets. You have to have inventory. They have a price when you replace them. These types of things, and all of that stuff you can manage on the Planons system. Right?
Yeah, and
also maintenance and cleaning and whatever, the whole setup around how you manage these day-to-day assets in an effective way.
Yeah, and does that mean that for you, the properties of an asset are all the same in the sense that it can be a deliverer, it can be maintenance required, and whether it's a table, a building, or an installation, it really comes down to generic processes?
Yeah. In principle, yes. Yeah. I mean, that's the way the system is set up. That every asset has a life cycle, needs maintenance, needs there's a price attached to a certain asset that you can depreciate over time and you can replace eventually, and that's what a facility management team does.
Yeah, and then Kadak is more on location where the asset is, or is it about geometry a lot, or is it also about asset lifecycle management?
It's actually where do we find each other? Where does Planon and Kadak find each other? That's very important.
And where do you find each other?
Our expertise is definitely on the CAD side, in designing and making sure that. Let's say that in this case the asset is the building, how to design and make sure that a contractor is able to build a building. And then comes the typical handover phase. And that's where a long time has been a big gap between the contractor and the operator.
Yes, owner. And we, from our perspective, FM perspective, we say project and process.
Yeah.
So you're more from process?
Definitely.
Yeah.
And he's more from project?
We're more from
together?
The process of creating a project. From a Kadak point of view, we have always been strong on supporting our customers with how to make a nice design of a building, how to use the information of this design, and how to make sure that your building is built as designed.
Yeah.
This let me call it this CAD expertise.
Yeah,
that's something we are really strong in. But we're also convinced of the fact that as a provider of solutions, you do not want to build any solution yourself.
Yeah,
you have to get strategic partners like Planon, for example.
Yeah.
So
why do you have them as a partner?
They're especially strong in the asset lifecycle management solutions, of course. And why Planon? At first, in my personal experience, we have, let me say that Planon was the typical organization which allowed us to work together.
Okay.
It's not easy to get two completely different environments to each other and make sure that that not only you can work together, but you can also support that both our customers are going to work together. And I think the strength we have shown to our customers, that's the strength that still is going on at this point.
Yeah, because earlier in this podcast you said you started 8 years ago.
Yeah, about.
Yeah. And that was with the Kobe Light, as they called it in those days.
Yeah.
But today you are with this Connect for Open BIM.
Yeah.
You have this. why is it so interesting for you as Planon to have this connect for Open BIM?
It's critical for us. We can see more and more customers are using BIM. They're using it from their design, planning, and construction management processes. And we can see that there's beginning to come a digital red thread from all the way from the early design, build, and operate.
Yeah.
We are in the operations part.
Yeah, okay.
We're not that much into design and planning stages.
But with your data, design can be enriched.
Exactly, and that's what we are doing with CADAC, is that we enrich the CAD drawings and the BIM models that we're already working with. So we take an operational perspective to this, and then we can enrich the data that's already in. And so it's bilateral. So that the data comes in and become enriched in Planon, but also the customer can pull it out in their BIM model. So when they have new constructions, or they want to extend their facilities, or they want to change some of the setups and work together with designers or engineering companies,
right,
they can take that enriched data model and use it because it's been updated. And that's one of the challenges we've seen with BIM in the past, is that by theory it would work great in an operational environment, but it just didn't, because it didn't get updated with the right data. As life goes on and you change things in the building and you move a couple of walls here and there, but all of a sudden you have an unupdated or incomplete
like drawings that go into the drawer.
They go into the drawer and think people are just practical and
they do their own thing.
They do their own thing. They don't necessarily update the systems, but Planon being an operational system, we have those updates in our system. And that's why the CADAC collaboration is so valuable, because then we constantly update the data. So when people want to pull out the BIM model again to then again have some designers or engineers working on it, then it's always an updated
that means also that
model.
That if you can do that during the operations phase, then you keep the real estate portfolio data up to date.
Exactly.
Which means that you add value to real estate.
And also that you add value to the real estate team, absolutely. But the whole process, it's a win-win-win situation, because also that we make sure that from an operational perspective, I mean, it's easy to say if you're working with an operation and you enrich the data from year to year, but what happens if you do it over 3, 4, 5 years? Because then the changes are quite severe. So from an operational perspective, you can also begin to use BIM in a much more intelligent, smart way.
Like a new workplace concept.
Exactly. And just these day-to-day changes, enrich the data, pull the data out, see what happens. If you have an electrician coming in, that the electrician doesn't drill the wall, the holes in the wall where all the wiring are happening, and these types of things.
More better decision making.
Better decision, but also future ready. That you can begin to have. You can have some of the things that we are looking at in our innovation lab is virtual reality. That you can have virtual reality glasses on, and then you can see your BIM model in 3D in front of your eyes. And you can begin to work with that, both from a training perspective, but also from a design and improvements perspective, from having construction workers coming in, moving a wall or drilling a hole.
And then on another note, you have this open application platform strategy.
Yeah, correct.
Which is young.
Yeah, relatively young.
Young.
We did open our platform 7-8 years ago, so it's not something we have done over the past couple of years.
It's getting traction now.
It is getting traction now, and it's positioning us right for the future. Because I think, and I can actually speak to that from my background. When I was with ISS, we bought our first IWMS system back. I believe it was 2004. And at that time, none of the systems were open platform systems, and you had to sort of swear to one system, and then you have to build everything within that system. And we were looking for something that was more open and you could easily connect to, and it could connect to our systems within the ISS organization. Nobody had that. And Planon, I think in 17, 18, we decided to open up our system to make it much more easier to connect to both deep connections like we have with Kadak, but also just through APIs. Because I think we have to realize that the whole world is an ecosystem of partners. And if you're not able to connect with that ecosystem, you limit yourself from sharing that data and having an ability to enrich that data from various parts of the network.
But that's also your strategy in the sense of, can you tell a little bit about the Autodesk platform service? About the Autodesk Construction Cloud, because you have read it as well, that, for example, Cushman and Wakefield, that they globally now embrace the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Totally, all countries. Why is that, Björn? Why do they do that, do you think?
We also believe in strong partners, and Autodesk is a very strong partner. The Construction Cloud they have created is a really powerful platform for collaborating, for sharing information, although yet it is very typical for the design and build process, but also you see on the Autodesk side that asset management is a very important topic at this moment. Actually, the core engine of this Autodesk Construction Cloud is Autodesk Platform Services, formerly called as Forge, and that gives us as Autodesk partners strong solutions to, for example, get data translations of a complex BIM model. So it helps us in making sure that not only BIM information is simplified and available for us, but also we can use this as a service. So it gives us the possibility that with the correct connections, of course, we can get through Planon a BIM model, for example, translated just as the way as Planon likes his information back to the solution, without having all these complex BIM knowledge of, for example, an Autodesk Revit application or how is an IFC model structured.
But that means that coming from you, from this platform of architecture, construction, engineering, operations, going to them for asset management, and from you it goes to SAP. It's almost circular.
And once, for example, you have large maintenance, you want to have the as-built documents, for example, really as the reality is.
Yeah, but so where do we go with AI now then? Because if this data is going from Kadak, Autodesk, Planon, SAP, what do you think that will happen to FM? Because if AI kicks in, everything gets automated. What does this mean for example, companies like ISS?
Yeah, or anybody else that's
in the
FM space. I think it creates some fantastic opportunities to be much more proactive and act on data before it turns into a complaint or an issue or something like that. And AI is definitely where we have big data. And we have big data, huge data sets in when you talk BIM and you talk
the combination of
IWMS and SAP or whatever it is, the connection is. What has always been the issue with facility management is that they have never been able. It's a very reactive profession. That issues happen and you deal with it. You know, the lift is broken. Corrective maintenance and corrective procedures that you need to work with in terms of dealing with the workplace experience and having an efficient workplace setup where people enjoy to come to work and are efficient in whatever work they need to do, right? And then you can't have that, one of the lifts are out, so people have to take the stairs or have to wait for 5 minutes to get another lift or whatever the issue is, right? By working with this and having this interoperability between the systems and the connections, not even talking about AI yet, but just having these warnings and these systems and alarms that will go off, that provides you to be much more proactive and dealing with the problems before the problems occur for the users and becomes a hindrance for their efficiency. Now, if you add an AI layer on that, then you can begin to predict on very, very accurate data sets, for example, the lift, one of the lift systems, if the lift is just off by a few millimeters when it opens the doors on the floor that it needs to be in, that's typically an early warning sign that something is off.
Is Schneider also pushing this within Planon?
Yeah, absolutely. But let me just be absolutely clear. Schneider doesn't make lifts. I just want to make that clear.
No.
Okay. Because that's often a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
I think Schindler and
That's
Schneider are
Schindler.
two completely different companies. Yeah. But of course, Schneider sees the same. Schneider have BMS systems, building management systems. They have a lot of sensors and smart meters and electricity systems and stuff like that.
And the
principle is exactly the same.
Yeah.
And you can use AI also and you can use automation, because that's what you're talking about when you say is FM going to be?
Yeah, because if you and Schneider Electric are doing this together with this SAP connection, it allows them architects to make informed design.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And that's where we want to get to.
Yeah.
We are not quite there yet, but we are definitely on that road, or that.
That's your roadmap. That's your strategy.
That's trajectory. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So you're going to take us facility managers all the way there?
Yeah, I hope so.
How many years?
It shouldn't be that many years. I think ultimately what the vision of Planon is to become the operating system of buildings, if you will, said in a popular way, the Microsoft 365 of buildings. That system that sits behind everything, that can connect to everything, and take all those data points and turn them into valuable insights. Sorry?
When you say buildings, do you also mean everything in the buildings?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Because
buildings
that's often
and
assets
everything
on a broader level, of course.
Sorry?
Assets on a broader level, of course.
Okay.
Because if we can be predictive and upfront in terms of saying now the behavior of your HVAC system is in such a way that the airflow is not optimal, or it will break down in a couple of days or something like that, that's when you dispatch a technician. Not before. And today we are doing that on a frequent basis because we want to make sure it never breaks down.
Okay.
There's an optimization in there that can actually that means a lot of money and a lot of savings if you can do that in the right way. But also make
it's like with sustainability.
Exactly.
Not using things is the best.
That's the most sustainable way.
And facility management is also
like that. But making sure that the building becomes automated, that the lighting shuts off. And that's an easy example. It already does that in many places today, where in rooms where you're not using it, that the energy, the HVAC system, the heating system, and everything shuts off when there's nobody using it. And then it turns on. And then when you can integrate it into your room booking system, for example, then you can see, Fred and Björn is going to have this meeting room today at 2:00. Let's precondition it at 1:45, so it's nice and warm and comfortable, and there's lighting and all the AV equipment.
It's the integration of data.
Exactly, and that's where that's where the magic is going to happen in only a couple of years.
And Björn, I want to ask you, because visualization.
Yeah,
we haven't mentioned that yet.
Yeah,
but for people using a workspace and a building, etc., visualization, one person feels more with 3D images than another one. A technical engineer can read a 2D cut drawing, but a non-technical, more social person might work with a 3D visualization.
Yes.
So...
3D visualization is a very important part of solutions on this kind of level, because of the fact that a lot of people are not able to interpret it, a 2D drawing, for example, correctly.
Yeah.
Well, 3D, you have the picture as we can see it ourselves, and that makes it lots more convenient for a lot of people to understand how a room is looking, where is some furniture standing, how much space do I have. So it makes it much more easier for a lot of people.
Because they do also a transition with Facility Management Haaglanden, government organization, 420,000 square meters of FMBIM. And you have to really engage with a transition with this facility management people, going from a technical drawings management department to a data-driven FM department, isn't it?
True.
What is a typical problem there?
Well, the typical problem there was there is a two-dimensional application on one side where facility management was performed in this case, management of furniture mostly.
Yeah.
It was a quite simple solution to get your offices nicely foreseen of furniture. But on the other hand, there were requirements of creating correct dimensioned documents to check on certain regulations, etc. So how can we get this 2D information directly in a 3D model? Well, it was actually a quite simple solution on a technical point of view. If you have a certain library with these objects, whether this is furniture or whatever it is, you have a nice library. If you know the libraries, if you know the ideas, if you know the position, then we can simply add it to a 3D model, and it can be visualized for also non-technical people.
Yeah.
If you have changes, we can give the exact information back to the 2D drawing in this case.
So this brings us back completely to the Connect for OpenBIM tool you both have?
Yes.
The difference is that you've automated what you did in The Hague.
Exactly. In this case, there's much more, let me call it magic behind the scenes, where we make it much more simpler for the asset operator. Let me call him this way. If you have this BIM model, you do not have the complexity of the BIM model. You add it, and all the magic is done after the scenes for you. Okay. That's very important. But I want to get back on the data aspect. If operators, they collect a lot of data at this point about the building, about their assets, about maintenance. How are the current, now let me call it this way, what is the position of the current operators, owners towards using AI? Because it is their data, it's their private information. Yeah. Do you have any idea how customers are in this one?
Everybody is asking for AI at this point in time. There's a bit of a hype around AI. I'm not sure everybody is aware of all the use cases and understand the use cases, as long as you can sort of tick the box. You have AI? Yes. Okay, let's go on. Then we'll figure out what we use it for afterwards. Yeah. But of course, AI is becoming very important, and also GDPR and privacy issues that you cannot see, because for example, we also have a lot of personnel information in the system. Yep. And when we are working on our AI models, in terms we don't have a lot on AI at the moment. We have an AI assistant for search and stuff like that, and we need to make sure that the GDPR, we can manage the GDPR issues. So it's not threat that shows up in that you rented a room 5 times or whatever. That will be sensitive information, but that we can just say there's some person that is renting rooms, or that is going to this, or that are sitting at the same table, anonymized. And that's some of the challenges we're working at the moment. That makes that AI application a little bit difficult, because that layer is important, especially also for the service providers. Yeah, that they cannot see that a certain employee is going to a certain room with another person, or is sitting in the basement smoking cigarettes or something like that. You know, that type of information is off limits. We don't want that. It shouldn't be part of the setup.
I hear you two with a lot of dreams and a lot of possibilities. What I hear you two saying is that this Connect for OpenBIM opens up a lot of opportunities as well.
It does, especially also, I mean, the whole digital twin area, because using it for an operational setup and working with data, but then it opens up a lot of new opportunities for simulation and just understanding how the building works, how your asset works. What happens if, you mentioned furniture before, if we put these types of furniture in, what is the look and feel here? What if we put another furniture? How many people can we then fit in? what does that do to the commissioning of the HVAC system? How many people, and the fire safety
scenario planning.
There's a lot of scenarios and forecasting and things.
Very
like
interesting
that,
for real estate firms as
exactly.
well.
Exactly, it is.
Maybe this is why Cushman and Wakefield is pushing it. Huh?
Maybe.
You never know.
Cushman about that, yeah.
Let's do a shout out. We touched a lot of subjects. Thank you for expressing your strategies, your visions as Kadak and as Planon.
You're welcome.
But what is the thing that our viewers should be noticing the coming months?
I would say when you look into it, it looks expensive and it's like eating a big elephant. It's also a huge project, but you can start small. You don't have to take the most expensive solution to start off with. That's one thing. And then second thing is also BIM and using these types of systems and interoperability between the system makes a hell of a lot of sense when you're in new constructions. But they also make sense if you're in a retrofit building, if you're just applying that system. So my advice would be start small. Don't get limited. This is only about new constructions. It's not. It's also about existing buildings and getting some of this technology into existing buildings because it really provides a lot of value.
Step by step.
Take it small steps. Take some small steps and then start somewhere. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Björn.
I can relate to this one, definitely. Dare to embrace these steps. Every company, they will experience these changes in the future. Whether it's now, whether it's in a few years, it will happen. BIM is there, facility management is there, AI is coming fast. Embrace it in small steps, do it.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you both. Thank you for your hospitality as well, Peter.
It was my pleasure, and thank you for coming here. It's always nice to have such lovely visitors. Yeah.
The headquarters.
The global headquarters of Planon, yeah.
We're going to say goodbye from the headquarters of Planon. See you next time. We will have another podcast with a hospital from the south of Holland. Zuiderland ziekenhuis later. So stay focused, stay viewed. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wil je meer podcasts bekijken van de Enabling Digital Insights serie? Ga dan naar Spotify of onze website.